This is an overview of my neuron. Okay, so starting from left to right, the dendrites are represented by these pencils, and they receive messages from other cells and then send it to the cell body or the soma, which is represented by this blue plate. And then from there, the message travels to the axon hillock, which is right there, along the axon, which is represented by this pink yarn. And then the axon is insulated by a layer of fatty tissue known as the myelin sheath, and that's represented by these green straws. And then from the myelin sheath, the little spaces in between the myelin sheath are known as the nodes of Ranvier. And then the message travels to the terminal branches represented by these friendship bracelets. The neurotransmitters, or the goldfish, are chemical messengers that cross the synapse and bind to the receptor sites of other neurons, which I have slightly represented. This arrow represents the action potential, which is a neural impulse or a brief electrical charge that travels down the axon. So taking a closer look at the inside of an axon, the pink border represents the axon, and then the inside of a neuron has negatively charged ions, which are represented by the purple straw pieces, and then the outside fluid has an excess and positively charged ions, which are the black straw pieces all around here. And the negative inside / positive outside creates a state called resting potential. When a neuron fires, the gate opens slightly and the positive ions rush inside, and the axon, or the section of the axon, becomes depolarized because the charge is changing from inside the axon from negative to positive so quickly. And then while the positive ions are rushing in, there is also a pump that is in the cell membrane that is pumping the positive ions back out again. The depolarization of this section of the axon results in an action potential, and then the next axon channel opens and it repeats the process all over again. Similar to the axon, when a dendrite depolarizes, it creates an action potential. When an action potential reaches the axon's terminals, it releases neurotransmitters, which are represented by the goldfish, that cross the synaptic gap and then bind to the receptor site of another neuron. And then the neuron that sent the neurotransmitters would reabsorb the excess in a process called reuptake. A neuron is constantly receiving signals from many other neurons, and a majority of these signals are called excitatory, which are like pushing a neuron's accelerator, and the other ones are called inhibitory, which are described as pushing a neuron's brakes. And if you subtract inhibitory signals from excitatory signals and exceed a threshold or minimum intensity, the signals will then trigger another action potential.